Yo, the North American Championship was insane, with only one Tier 1 deck making the top 4 out of 1,800 people, and none of them using the Adventure or the Punk engine. It just goes to show about how diverse this format is. In today's video, I'm not only going to be telling you exactly what happened at that event, I'm also going to be breaking down a couple of deck profiles that made it to the top contention, as well as some cards that you should be looking out for now, because the future is very much going to be decided by this event. Let's jump on in. What's going on with ya, big dog? And it is Update Monday. It has been 1 year, 1 month, and 1 week of kicking rheumatoid arthritis' ass. I still have my aches and pains, but I'm telling you, I feel amazing. Don't ever let whatever obstacle stop you from living a happy, healthy, long life. And speaking of such, there are some strategies at this 1,800 man event. That's right, that actually had a long life expectancy, longer than what a lot of players have expected it to do. Now, unfortunately, we don't have the statistics of the amount of people that enter what deck, but we actually do have the top strategies in top 64 out of this 1,800 man event. Keep in mind, in order to make top 64, you had to have at least 25 points. This basically meant that you had to win 8 games with no more than 2 losses and at least 1 draw. Incredible. In our top 64 bracket for the North American Championship, we have 10 Adventure Punk, 8 Dragon Link, with 1 being Punk Adventure Dragon Link and 7 being Adventure, 7 Sword Soul, 7 Despia Branded, 5 flundereeze, 5 Therion Punk, 3 Outlich, 3 Sky Striker, 2 Predaplant Branded, 2 ABC, 2 Plunder Patrol, 2 Drytron, 2 Tri-Brigade, 1 being a Punk Tri-Brigade, the other being Lyrilusk, 1 Synchro Adventure, which is different from Adventure Punk because there were no Punk cards, 1 Phantom Knight, 1 marinecess, 1 Ignister, and 1 Solomon Great. Now, if you look at this top 64, there isn't a single strategy to dominate over one of the another. We already expected Adventure Punk to be a very popular strategy, and it pretty much carried over to the top 64, claiming the most spots. But what some players didn't watch out for was Rocket Dragon Link actually having a strong showing, and actually throughout the course of the knockout event, having a stronger showing than the Adventure Punk strategy. We'll talk about Rocket Dragon Link a little bit later. But there is one thing I want to highlight, is that Adventure Punk or Punk Synchro or Adventure Synchro could literally mean anything. Take, for example, Kobe Short's Zombie Punk profile, which probably got classified as Adventure Punk or Synchro Punk. Who really knows? I think that it's actually a good thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! To have engines that can be played inside of strategies, but not be completely overbearing. As you can see, just about half of the strategies did play some type of Adventure, Punk, or Therion in them, but it doesn't necessarily translate to being the best deck, and we'll find out as we get to the other tops. One thing that I did notice about the format is that players were back to playing Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. This card is really powerful at being able to stop the Adventure engine, but also has so many interactions in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game. Being able to use it against a flundereeze player and their advent of the Adventure, while also still being able to use it against so many niche interactions to just get the monster off the field. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit will not only be a powerful card now, it actually does still stay relevant when the new Power of the Elements set comes out. And speaking of hand traps that have come back in full force, it's going to be Nibiru the Primal Being. Now, we already know how powerful Nibiru can be inside of a combo format, but sometimes you gotta play enough hand traps, especially with disruption cards like the Adventure engine preventing you from being able to Nibiru. But the best thing about Nibiru isn't being able to crack your opponent's first board, but after you crack your opponent's first board and you guys have limited resources, Nibiru pretty much becomes free, as setting an interruption to stop the Nibiru and another interruption while completing your full board is next to impossible. Another strategy I want to highlight in the top 64 bracket is Kamal Crook's Punk Therion list. As you can see, he has a really good selection of hand traps. A really powerful card inside of today's format is Chaotic Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon. So typically, if your deck can at least make that, being able to add a Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit or a Nibiru the Primal Being off of a chaotic ruler mill, oh, you were in the game, even if your plays got stopped. Fortunately enough, the fun doesn't stop there as we do move on to our top 32. Also, a mad thanks to both Shogi and Hoodley for providing me the pie chart and the deck list to be able to show to you guys. You guys are phenomenal. Inside of the top 32, there were 6 Dragon Link, 5 Sword Soul, 4 Adventure Punk, 3 Despia, 3 Predaplant, 2 Flundereeze, 2 Striker, 1 Therion, 1 Outlich, 1 Marinecess, 1 Triliteral, 1 Drytron, 1 Phantom Knight, 1 ABC, and 1 Plunder. Now what's really interesting is the difference between top 64 and top 32. The Adventure and Punk strategies almost lose all of their representation from the 64 to 32. This means that the more skilled players were very much prepared to be able to play for this, and they actually have legitimate counters, meaning that these strategies are not the end-all be-all inside of the format. And one thing I do want to point out is while most of the strategies representation was halved, Dragon Link wasn't. Take a look at Elysium's Dragon Link build. Mad shout out to her. You almost took home the gold, girl. I'm so excited and happy for my homegirl Elysium, as this Rocket Dragon Link deck profile is actually ridiculous. The reason why Rocket Dragon Link did so well at converging from 64 to 32 is its ability to just not care about hand traps. And as you can see in just about every profile I'm going to show you, all of them are going to be playing a lot of hand traps, and that's something that Rocket Dragon Link naturally doesn't care about. It can also still make Chaotic Ruler to Chaotic Magical Dragon to search its own hand traps like Ghost Ogre and Nibiru, which have been appearing in just about every list. On top of that, this strategy can take full advantage of the Adventure engine and being able to use Red Rose Dragon to its highest potential. Yeah, this is kind of one of the most busted decks of the format and possibly could be the best deck in Yu-Gi-Oh right now. Now, what really happened that was extremely interesting is once we got to top 16, Adventure and Punk almost disappeared. Inside of our top 16, we have 3 Dragon Link, 2 Flundereeze, 2 Sword Soul, 2 Despia, 2 Adventure Punk, 1 Therion Punk, 1 Marinecess, 1 Plunder, 1 Sky Striker, 1 Tri-Brigade Lyralus. Yo! The numbers for the Adventure and Punk engine players just keep getting lower and lower, where some of the other strategies that didn't play anything tend to stay. I genuinely believe it's because of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit and Nibiru to Primal Being. While some players weren't prepared to be playing those cards inside of their main deck, it's obvious that the most talented and top players were. I think that it shouldn't go underestimated on how powerful these hand traps were, but there are actually better hand traps inside of the format that could steal the show. You should already know about Drolling Logbird, which could easily end an opponent's entire day. Both the Punk and the Adventure engine are very susceptible to this, and to counteract that, Adventure players have been playing Side-Frame Gear Gamma. Now, one thing you don't want to have happen to you is what happened to the Tri-Brigade player on stream.
Yeah, it's a good thing he has the Gamma, otherwise this would be untenable. And he has the Gamma for the Droll.
Using Drolling Logbird and getting punished heavily by a Side-Frame Gear Gamma. That's why I strongly suggest you watch my hand trap guide on when and where to hand trap against certain strategies. Go ahead and check that out. But if there is a deck to highlight, someone that got all the way to top 4 was Pascal Minigod. I apologize if I said your name wrong, and his Flundereeze build. Now I'm gonna talk about this in top 16 because in top 4 there's a lot of things to talk about, so I gotta space them out. But Pascal's Flundereeze build, perfecto! Using the new Samor card from Burst of Destiny, I actually did a deck profile including this card inside of the build. Helps you not only chain block, but gives you an additional body to your side of the field. The only drawback is that this card isn't as optimal when you draw Dimensional Shifter, but to be honest, who cares? Just Dimensional Shifter when you can Dimensional Shifter, and Samorg when you can Samorg. I really like his approach on the build because if you can't just play a ton of hand traps to just 2-card combo your opponent with multiple hand traps, you play the blowout hand traps. Cards, I don't know, prevent you from searching or prevent you from sending cards to the graveyard? Yeah, those seem to be doing a really good job for him. Moving on from our Sweet 16 into our top 8, here's where things get really interesting and shows how diverse this meta is. The top 8 consists of 2 Rocket Dragon Link, 1 Adventure Punk, 1 Flundereeze, 1 Sword Soul, 1 Despia, 1 Sky Striker, 1 Marinecess. There's literally only 3 strategies that play the Adventure engine, and only 1 strategy that plays the Punk engine, and it's like, yo! For the people that dump tons and tons of money into the Adventure or the Punk engine thinking that it was a free win, it's not a free win. You still gotta play Yu-Gi-Oh! Inside of our Hateful Eight, one profile I really want to highlight is Elijah Green's marinecess. Now, he did make it into the top 4, and a lot of my Discord was actually rooting for him to win it all. But it's still really cool to be able to take marinecess to the highest of the highest level of competition and do so well. I think a really big reason to this success was Goes in Match. Not only does Goes in Match handle the adventure engine very well, the token that you summon is Earth, the Wandering Griffin would be Wind, so good luck stopping that. There's also being able to stop the Punk engine, seeing that it summons Light, Dark, Earth, Wind, Fire, Water. It summons all of the elements, so yeah, Goes in Match can really stop that. You combine that with marinecess Marbled Rock, which technically can't be destroyed by battle as long as you're discarding a marinecess and you take no damage. This man is a big brain pilot. So congratulations to you, Elijah, for your top 4 cut and showing us that a deck not playing Punk or Adventure can make it extremely far. Moving into our top 4, you literally see, no, that's right, 0 decks that were using Punk or Adventure, and again, it just goes to show that it is not a free win just because you play Punk and Adventure. This isn't like the other formats where you could just slap 2 Dark Arm Dragons in your deck with 3 emergency teleports and a Malicious and win. I'm a fucking boomer, aren't I? Top 4 consist of marinecess, Sky Striker, flundereeze, and Sword Soul. And to highlight, we're going to be going over Ryan Yu's second place Sky Striker deck profile as, God, I hate this deck and I love it at the same time. Yu's approach to this Sky Striker: play the big hand traps,
Mystic Mine your opponent,
and also win off of your Sky Striker spell cards. Well, and actually win off of your spell cards. Unfortunately, despite you packing heavy with 3 copies of Token Collector, as well as some really good hand traps to be able to stop Sword Soul, Hansel Adgaro, I'm pretty sure I butchered the name and I apologize. Congratulations for being a 2-time North American champion with Sword Soul. Ultimately, that build up about paying tons and tons of hand traps, yeah, it seems you don't even have to really do that. The Sword Soul strategy, I've always said, is a strategy that can go second in break boards without the use of hand traps, and hands will use very minimal to be able to win the entire event. I also love how my man's went completely toxic by playing Mystic Mine in the main board alongside a Rivalry of the Warlords. Rivalry of the Warlords will serve as the same purpose of Goes in Match as, you know, the Punk cards. They kind of summon everything, and Adventure, yeah, Wandering Griffin's a Winged Beast, the token's a fairy. This ain't a combination that's working. Now, if there are some takes that you can take from this event, moving on into the next format, one thing I'd have to say is that the best hand trap in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now is not Nibiru, Ghost Ogre, or even Ash Blossom. I would say easily Psyframe Gear Gamma is the best hand trap. There are so many clutch situations where Psyframe Gear Gamma either A, stop your opponent from completely locking you out with a blowout monster effect, or a hand trap like Drooling Lockbird, or B, Psyframe Gear Gamma stopped their most important play and allowed you to play Yu-Gi-Oh! So many decks at the event were utilizing Psyframe Gear Gamma and had very rewarding results. If there was a top side deck card, easily Anti-Spell Fragrance. Anti-Spell Fragrance, ironically, is probably one of the most busted cards when you get to go first. Not only do you get to stop your opponent's board breaker spell cards, barring Forbidden Droplet, you also prevent them from getting into their engine, as a lot of engine cards are spell cards allowing them to play. If I had to pick a favorite match for the event, I would have to say Hansel versus Hector, the top 32 matchup, which was Dragon Link versus Sword Soul. I think it really showed you how powerful both of those decks can be. A close second was easily the Ignister matchup, just because in game 1, the Ignister player was a Goofy Goober! Like, imagine playing everything correctly and losing the Mystic Mine because you played everything correctly. It was hilarious. I want you to let me know down below in the comment section, what was your favorite match? I've already said mine. And that's pretty much everything that you need to know about the YCS Championship. If you have any other tidbits, then go ahead and post down below as well. We'd love to hear them. Also, be sure to check out these other videos if you want to see more amazing content. And then there's Master Duel Cali for the Master Duel content, as I'll catch you on the next video. Huh. Seems like it's a done deal. The Holy Grail. I think me and Outback Cali got the highest this time.